how do you feel personally as a ministry God prepared us? I always think of my favorite verse is Proverbs 18:16. So the man's gifts will make room. And I think that God opens doors, he elevates, and there's a preparation. But along the way, there's things in life that God prepares a person in ministry for the things he has in our future.
Right.
What do you think God did, or how did God accomplish that preparation in your life in the ministry to prepare us for this next phase called Dreadnought?
You know, Sean, there's a couple of things I'm going to share here because there's some things that God has really revealed to me. But from the time I was 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be a soldier. I did. Now, I wasn't saved when I was young. A lot about my age, joined the Marines at 16, volunteered for combat duty in Vietnam. The war got over before I could get over there. In 1975, when Saigon was getting ready to fall, the call came that we're going to mount up. And first thing I did is went in and volunteered and said, I want to go. But it ended very quickly. Ford called it off, and I was involved in the evacuation. I saw many of the refugees coming to Camp Pendleton. So I decided to get out of the Marine Corps, go to Rhodesia, and become a soldier of fortune. Back then in the Marine Corps, I think I was probably making $400 a month as a soldier of fortune. I'd make $4,000 a month. And soldier of fortune could advertise for mercenaries back then. But then I became born again. I got saved, and of course then I realized can't be killing people for a thing. When my term in the Marine Corps ended, I was going to re-enlist and become a drill instructor. And then I think it would have been my personality. And then long term, after being a drill instructor, I thought about going and be the officers candidate school. Just a thought. Whether I would have ever done it, I don't know. I had a lot. Before I got saved, I thought about joining the French Foreign Legion, a lot of things like that, And truthfully, I would have probably joined the Foreign Legion, but I didn't want to have to learn to speak French. Yeah. And then later I found out that people in the Foreign Legion don't know French. You learn basically combat French while in training, and by the time you get out, you have an operational military skill of French. So had I known it, I probably would have joined. But then getting saved changed everything. And I remember when my time came to re-enlist, the Lord told me to get out of the military. 13 years I was in the business world. Did well. But I always felt like, Lord, I always felt like I was called to be a soldier. Went to Russia for 5 years as a missionary, absolutely loved it. God calls me to South Sudan, and a few years later, I'm training the chaplains for their military. And I really feel like God ordained that. And in my life, and I know some people are going to think this is such a strange thing to say, but I have seen God orchestrate things in my life for the future. And I'll give you an example. When I got out of the Marine Corps, a young lady in my church, truly one of at the time I thought she was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. Loved the Lord, very sweet. And she was about 3 years older than me. I found out many, many years later, she wanted to have a relationship with me, wanted to be my girlfriend. I honestly believe that God blinded my eyes to that, because had I known that, I would have married her, settled down, had a family, and a regular career. But in God ordering my footsteps, he prevented me from seeing it. Now, I don't know how that would have ever turned out, but I know that had I known that, I would have gone down that road, but he blinded me to it. And of course, I met my wife, Vicki, in Africa, and Vicki was absolutely designed for me in this ministry. And I do really believe that God orders the footsteps of the righteous. So I think that when I was in Russia, it was just a training ground, and God was preparing me for war zones. So then I spent, roughly, I think it's been 26 years, I can't remember exactly, in the Southern Sudan. And now we're working in all kinds of war zones. And as my skill set has been perfected by being in war and having had 71 men killed and seeing many men die over my lifetime, God has perfected me to be a soldier. And through that, he's brought in men that easily can run an intelligent network. And we have people who not only have done this and been very successful at it. So the whole purpose is for one thing. And when we start this organization, most of it will not be able to be talked about because, again, it will be clandestine. but our long-term goal is to rescue and protect. That's it.